Just imagine if Marilyn Monroe had not died so early, what would she have brought to us? Just like her, there are many old Hollywood gems who died too soon even before their full career could start. We are going to pay tribute to all those Hollywood stars who died while becoming legends. Sal Mano died at 37. Sal Mano gained fame as the sensitive, troubled teen Plato in Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, earning an Academy Award nomination at just 17. Known for portraying emotionally complex characters, he went on to receive a second Oscar nomination for Exodus, 1960, affirming his status as one of the era's most talented young actors. Though he worked steadily through the 1960s in both film and theater, Mino faced challenges as he aged out of teen roles. He also struggled with typecasting and the industry's unwillingness to embrace his sexuality at the time. Nevertheless, he earned praise for stage performances and had recently returned to directing when tragedy struck. On February 12, 1976, at age 37, Mano was stabbed to death outside his apartment in Los Angeles. A man was later convicted of the crime, though robbery, not fame, was cited as the motive. Mano's death was a grim reminder of how sudden and senseless loss can be. Though not as widely remembered today as some of his contemporaries, his early performances remain powerful, and his legacy as a pioneer in portraying queer-coded roles has only grown with time. Lupe Veles died at 36. Lupe Veles, known as the Mexican Spitfire, was one of the first successful Latin actresses in Hollywood. Bursting onto the scene in the silent film The Gaucho, 1927, opposite Douglas Fairbanks, Veles carved out a niche for herself with her fiery comedic persona. She starred in dozens of films, most famously the Mexican Spitfire series, where her vibrant energy made her a favorite among audiences. Beyond her screen image, Veles was bold, outspoken, and unafraid to challenge the industry's stereotypes. Her relationships with actors like Gary Cooper and Johnny Weissmuller made headlines, and her strong personality both attracted admiration and created enemies in an era when actresses were expected to be demure. In 1944, at the age of 36, Veles was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. While the official cause was ruled as a sleeping pill overdose, her death became the subject of wild rumors and fictionalized accounts that overshadowed her career. The more dramatic elements were later debunked, but the mystique persisted. Veles' story is often told as a tabloid tragedy, but beneath that was a pioneering talent who fought for recognition in a system that rarely offered it. Her death silenced a vibrant voice in early Hollywood history. Barbara Payton died at 39. Barbara Payton's rise and fall became one of Hollywood's most cautionary tales. She began her career as a model before transitioning to film, earning acclaim in Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950, opposite James Cagney. Her screen presence was undeniable, confident, sultry, and full of promise. She followed up with roles in Trapped and Only the Valiant, and for a time seemed destined for lasting stardom. But behind her golden looks was a stormy personal life that Hollywood couldn't ignore. Payton's public affair with actor Franchot Tone, while engaged to Tom Neal, turned into a headline-grabbing scandal after Neal assaulted Tone. Her career quickly suffered. Studios pulled back and roles dwindled. By the mid-1950s, she was working in low-budget films and eventually drifted into prostitution and alcoholism. Barbara Payton died in 1967 from liver and heart failure caused by years of substance abuse. She was just 39. Once a promising lead actress, her final years were spent in poverty. Her autobiography, I Am Not Ashamed, revealed a woman who deeply regretted the path she'd taken. Her story remains a haunting example of how Hollywood fame can burn fast and consume everything in its path. Marilyn Monroe died at 36. Few stars in Hollywood history have embodied both glamour and tragedy like Marilyn Monroe. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, she rose from a troubled childhood in foster homes to become the ultimate sex symbol of the 1950s. With her platinum blonde hair, breathy voice, and vulnerable charm, Monroe captivated audiences in films such as Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The 7-Year Itch, and Some Like It Hot, the latter earning her a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical. Despite her comedic persona, Monroe longed to be taken seriously as an actress. She studied at the Actors Studio in New York and delivered a more dramatic performance at Bus Stop, which critics praised. Her fame, however, often overshadowed her talent as she became the subject of intense media scrutiny, high-profile marriages, including, including Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, and persistent rumors of affairs with powerful men. Behind the scenes, Monroe struggled with depression, anxiety, and insomnia, for which she was frequently prescribed medications. Her final years were marked by erratic behavior on set, a string of unfinished projects, and increasing isolation. On August 5, 1962, she was found dead at her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. The cause was listed as a probable overdose, though speculation has surrounded her passing for decades. Marilyn Monroe's death stunned the world and cemented her as a tragic icon, forever young, beautiful, and mysterious. Her image remains one of the most recognizable in pop culture, symbolizing both the allure and the cost of stardom. Jane Mansfield died at 34. Jane Mansfield was one of the most flamboyant and photographed stars of the 1950s and 1960s. Dubbed the working man's Monroe, she gained fame with films like The Girl Can't Help It, Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, and Kiss Them for Me. Known for her hourglass figure and bold publicity stunts, she quickly became a symbol of over-the-top glamour. Unlike some contemporaries, Mansfield was also highly intelligent, reportedly with an IQ of 163, and trained in classical music and drama. Yet she leaned into her bombshell image with tongue-in-cheek charm, becoming a fixture in tabloids and Las Vegas stages. She won a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer and was considered a top sex symbol of her era. Her career began to decline in the 1960s as audiences shifted toward more grounded portrayals of women. Still, she remained a popular nightclub performer and embraced her celebrity status, often accompanied by her children, including future actress Mariska Hargitay. Tragedy struck on June 29, 1967, when Mansfield was killed in a car crash while traveling to New Orleans. She was just 34. The accident was so brutal, it prompted new safety standards for tractor-trailers, including the mandatory Mansfield bar. Jane Mansfield's legacy endures as a bold, larger-than-life figure who embraced fame on her own terms, until fate took it all away. Rudolph Valentino died at 31. Rudolph Valentino was the original screen heartthrob, the Latin lover whose magnetism defined the silent film era. His breakthrough came with The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, 1921, followed by box office hits like The Sheik and Blood and Sand. Audiences swooned over his exotic charm, and he became a global phenomenon, drawing crowds wherever he went. Valentino's appeal extended far beyond his films. He symbolized forbidden passion and masculine sensitivity in an age of rugged heroes. Yet his fame came with controversy. His effeminate style invited criticism, and his personal life was the subject of intense scrutiny. Despite public fascination, Valentino remained an elusive, deeply private figure. In 1926, while promoting The Son of the Sheik, Valentino collapsed in New York. He was diagnosed with peritonitis and died shortly after surgery at the age of 31. His sudden passing unleashed hysteria. Riots broke out at his funeral, and thousands lined up to mourn. Some fans even reportedly took their own lives. Valentino's death marked the first time a Hollywood star's passing became an international media event. Though his career lasted less than a decade, his legacy as cinema's first great romantic idol remains unshaken. Laird Cregar died at 31. Laird Cregar was one of the most compelling character actors of early 1940s Hollywood. With a towering presence and booming voice, he brought gravitas and menace to roles in films like I Wake Up Screaming, This Gun for Hire, and The Lodger, where he played a psychologically disturbed murderer with haunting depth. Originally trained for the stage, Cregar's rich performances often made him the highlight of the films he appeared in. Despite his critical success, he yearned to be seen as a romantic lead rather than a villain. In pursuit of this transformation, he embarked on an extreme weight loss program to change his appearance and win different kinds of roles. Unfortunately, his rapid and drastic physical changes took a toll on his health. Krieger underwent surgery for abdominal issues caused by his weight loss regimen and died on December 9, 1944, from heart failure at the age of 31. Hollywood lost a major talent just as he was preparing for a career reinvention. Today, he's remembered not only for his commanding performances, but also for the pressures placed on actors to conform to narrow standards of beauty and marketability. Susan Peters died at 31. Susan Peters was a gifted actress whose career showed incredible promise in the early 1940s. She earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Random Harvest, 1942, and soon after was cast in films like Song of Russia and The Sign of the Ram, establishing her as a dramatic talent with rare emotional sensitivity. In 1945, tragedy struck during a hunting trip when a gun accidentally discharged, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. Determined not to let the injury end her career, Peters returned to the screen and stage in roles that reflected her condition, breaking barriers for disabled performers. She also worked as a writer and continued to act on radio. Despite her efforts, Peters found herself increasingly sidelined by the industry. Combined with ongoing health struggles and personal loss, including the end of her marriage, her spirits began to decline. She passed away in 1952 at the age of 31, due to complications from anorexia and kidney disease. Susan Peters' life story is one of resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. Though her time on screen was brief, her performances and courage left a mark that still resonates with film historians and admirers of classic cinema. Brandon DeWild died at 30. Brandon DeWild began acting as a child and quickly became one of the most recognizable young stars of the 1950s. His breakout role in Shane, 1953, at just 11 years old, earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, making him one of the youngest nominees in Oscar history. The scene where he shouts, "Come back, Shane," became an iconic moment in American cinema. He continued working through adolescence, appearing in Blue Denim, HUD with Paul Newman, and numerous TV productions. Unlike many child actors, DeWild showed promise as an adult performer with a growing maturity in his work. Directors admired his naturalistic acting and emotional depth. By the early 1970s, he was preparing for a comeback with interest from theater and film projects. But on July 6, 1972, DeWild died in a car accident in Denver, Colorado. He was just 30. The tragedy halted a career many believed was entering a second phase of excellence. Brandon DeWild's life was short, but his performances, especially in Shane, left a lasting impression. He's remembered as one of the rare child stars whose talent could have carried him into lasting stardom, had fate not intervened. Virginia Rappe died at 30. Virginia Rappe was a model and silent film actress whose death triggered one of Hollywood's first and most damaging public scandals. Working with major producers like Mack Sennett and appearing in short comedies, Rappe was building a modest film career in the 1910s. Her natural beauty and poise made her a popular figure in early cinema. In 1921, Rappe attended a party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, hosted by comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. Days later, she died of peritonitis caused by a ruptured bladder. Arbuckle was accused of sexual assault and manslaughter, leading to 3 sensational trials and a media circus that helped fuel calls for Hollywood censorship. Though Arbuckle was eventually acquitted, Rappe's reputation was tarnished by false rumors and speculation. She had no opportunity to defend herself, and the scandal overwhelmed any recognition of her career. She was just 30 years old. Virginia Rappe's legacy became inseparable from the tragedy that ended her life. Today, many see her as a victim twice over, first in death, then in how history treated her. Her case remains a reminder of the price women in early Hollywood paid in the court of public opinion. Ross Alexander died at 30. Ross Alexander was a promising leading man at Warner Brothers during the mid-1930s, admired for his charm, stage training, and clean-cut looks. Before moving to Hollywood, he had built a strong reputation in New York theater. His screen debut led to several high-profile roles, including A Midsummer Night's Dream and Captain Blood, where he played supporting parts opposite stars like Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. Alexander was being groomed to be the next big thing at the studio. He had a refined presence that made him ideal for romantic roles, and his good-natured persona appealed to both audiences and executives. However, personal demons loomed behind the scenes. His first wife, actress Aleta Friel, died under tragic circumstances, and Alexander's career began to stall as younger stars entered the scene. On January 2nd, 1937, just days before his 30th birthday, Ross Alexander died in an incident involving a firearm at his home. The details surrounding his death remain murky, and at the time, speculation swirled about his finances and declining mental health. Though his name has faded from public memory, Alexander's short career is remembered as one of potential and grace. He is now seen as a figure who might have risen far higher had circumstances and timing been kinder. Thelma Todd died at 29. Known as the Ice Cream Blonde, Thelma Todd was a gifted comedic actress who became a favorite in 1930s films, especially alongside the Marx Brothers in Horse Feathers and Monkey Business. Her beauty and sharp comedic instincts earned her roles in dozens of short and feature-length films, making her one of the most beloved actresses of early sound cinema. Todd also ran a popular restaurant in Pacific Palisades and was well connected within the Hollywood social scene. But her rising career ended mysteriously on December 16, 1935, when she was found dead in her car in a garage near her cafe. The official cause was carbon monoxide poisoning, though speculation about foul play and scandalous affairs still lingers to this day. At just 29 years old, Thelma Todd's death added a layer of noir to her legacy. Despite her lighthearted screen persona, her real-life ending remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of old Hollywood. Her talent and tragic fate have kept her name alive in classic film circles, a reminder of the golden age's shadowy edges. Carol Landis died at 29. Carol Landis was a radiant presence in 1940s Hollywood, known for her beauty, energy, and dedication to entertaining troops during World War II. She rose to fame with her role in 1 Million BC, which showcased her as a pin-up icon, but she quickly proved she could handle a wide range of roles, from comedies like Topper Returns to dramas such as I Wake Up Screaming. Nicknamed the Blonde Bomber, Landis was under contract with 20th Century Fox and enjoyed a solid run of films throughout the early 1940s. However, her career slowed as the decade progressed, and her personal life was riddled with instability. 4 failed marriages and a tumultuous affair with Rex Harrison. On July 5, 1948, Carol Landis was found dead in her Brentwood home at the age of 29. The official cause was listed as an overdose. The circumstances surrounding her death raised questions, particularly about the nature of her relationship with Harrison, who was one of the last people to see her alive. Landis's death marked the end of a promising life and career that never quite reached its potential. Despite fading from public memory over time, she remains a poignant example of Hollywood's unforgiving nature, especially for women whose careers were closely tied to appearance and public perception. Jean Harlo died at 26. Known as the blonde bombshell of the 1930s, Jean Harlo was one of the first major sex symbols of the sound era. With her platinum hair, magnetic screen presence, and husky voice, she helped define the image of the modern Hollywood siren. But behind the glamour was a woman who faced immense pressure and an untimely death that stunned her fans and colleagues. Harlo gained attention with early roles in Hell's Angels and The Public Enemy, but her stardom exploded after joining MGM, where she headlined hits like Red Dust alongside Clark Gable, Dinner at 8, and Bombshell, a film that played off her real-life image. She was adored not only for her sensuality, but also for her quick wit and comedic timing, which allowed her to transition from vamp roles to screwball comedies with ease. Despite her fame, Harlo's personal life was turbulent. She endured a short, troubled marriage to producer Paul Byrne, who died under mysterious circumstances. Her health began to decline during the filming of Saratoga, where co-stars and crew noticed her fatigue and bloating. What seemed at first like the flu soon turned fatal. She was rushed to the hospital with kidney failure, then referred to as uremic poisoning, and passed away on June 7, 1937, at the age of 26. Her sudden death sent shock waves through Hollywood. MGM completed Saratoga with body doubles and long shots. At the time of her death, she was one of the most bankable stars in the industry. Jean Harlow's legacy endures as a tragic symbol of early stardom, an actress who lit up the screen and left it far too soon. Sharon Tate died at 26. Sharon Tate's life and career were cut short in a crime that horrified the world. A model turned actress, she rose to prominence in the 1960s with roles in Valley of the Dolls and The Fearless Vampire Killers. With her ethereal beauty and growing confidence on screen, Tate was on the cusp of stardom. Married to director Roman Polanski, Tate was living in Benedict Canyon when, on August 9, 1969, she was murdered by followers of Charles Manson. She was 8 months pregnant at the time. The crime shocked not only Hollywood but the entire nation, marking a symbolic end to the peace and love ethos of the 1960s. Despite her limited filmography, Tate earned critical attention for her comedic and dramatic potential, particularly in The Wrecking Crew opposite Dean Martin. She had also been receiving more substantial roles and was poised for a major career breakthrough. Sharon Tate was just 26. Her death remains one of the most infamous in Hollywood history, and her legacy lives on through documentaries, books, and a renewed appreciation of her brief but promising career. Robert Francis died at 25. Robert Francis had one of the shortest careers of any rising Hollywood actor, yet his poise and promise left a lasting impression. A California native with a clean, all-American look, Francis was cast in just 4 films, including The Caine Mutiny, opposite Humphrey Bogart, and The Long Gray Line with Tyrone Power. He was frequently compared to Montgomery Clift and James Dean for his quiet intensity and naturalistic acting. Style. Directors and casting agents believed he was destined for leading man status, with Columbia Pictures preparing him for major roles to come. On July 31, 1955, after only 2 years in the industry, Francis died in a plane crash when his borrowed aircraft malfunctioned shortly after takeoff. He was just 25. The accident stunned Hollywood insiders, many of whom saw him as the next big star of the studio system. Though his filmography is brief, Robert Francis remains a haunting reminder of how short-lived even the most promising careers can be. His potential remains one of Hollywood's great what-ifs. Peg Entwistle died at 24. Peg Entwistle is tragically remembered less for her work than for the myth that surrounds her death. A classically trained stage actress from the UK, she found early success on Broadway and earned praise for her dramatic roles. Her transition to Hollywood was short-lived, culminating in a small but visible role in the 1932 thriller 13 Women. Struggling to find her footing in the film industry and reportedly disappointed with how her part had been cut down, Entwistle's frustration mounted. On September 16, 1932, at the age of 24, she climbed the ladder of the H in the Hollywoodland sign and fell to her death. Ironically, a letter offering her a lead role in a play about a woman driven to suicide arrived after her passing. Though her career had barely begun, Peg Entwistle's name became a symbol of Hollywood's harsh realities and broken dreams. Her tragic end is often cited as one of the earliest cautionary tales of Hollywood's darker underbelly. James Dean died at 24. James Dean became a legend with only 3 major films to his name, a testament to the intensity and charisma he brought to the screen. Born in Indiana and raised on a farm, Dean's journey to stardom was meteoric. After studying acting at UCLA and under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, he quickly became one of the most compelling young actors of his generation. Dean's breakout role came in East of Eden, where his raw emotional performance earned him a posthumous Academy Award nomination, the first actor to ever receive such an honor. He followed that with Rebel Without a Cause, a film that cemented his status as a cultural icon for disaffected youth. His final role in Giant, opposite Elizabeth Taylor, earned him a second posthumous Oscar nomination, an unmatched feat for someone with such a brief career. Though he only lived to see one of his films released, Dean's impact on Hollywood was seismic. His brooding intensity, vulnerability, and cool defiance made him the prototype for a new kind of male lead, one that actors from Al Pacino to Leonardo DiCaprio would later emulate. Away from the camera, Dean was passionate about cars and racing. On September 30th, 1955, while driving his Porsche 550 Spyder to a race in Salinas, California, He collided with another vehicle. He died at the scene, just 24 years old. James Dean's early death froze his image in time, the ultimate rebel, full of promise and pain. He remains a symbol of youthful rebellion and lost potential, his short life continuing to inspire generations who see in him a reflection of brilliance cut far too short.